After spending one night in Bangkok, it was time for another early morning start to catch my flight to Kuala Lumpur, this time on a Thai Airways 777-200 in business class. Depending on the time of day, Bangkok traffic can be pretty bad, so be sure to allow plenty of travel time. Navigating the airport at Bangkok as a premium passenger was an absolute breeze. The terminal entrance was clearly marked with which door to use, and it took me straight to the priority check-in area. There was a slight line, but it moved quickly thanks to the amount of check-in desks open at the time. As a business class passenger, I was able to use the fast track immigration and security, which popped me right out in front of the main Royal Orchid Lounge. There are so many lounges at Bangkok depending on which concourse you're in. The main Thai lounge is large, but it can get very busy and fill up. There were multiple food stations with hot and cold food, as well as a cooking station where you could order from a small range of made-to-order hot dishes. I got a serving of freshly cooked eggs, then headed out to suss out my gate and plane. As it turned out, my plane wasn't there, and it seemed to be a bus gate, so I took a minute to have a look at some of the other aircraft that Thai uses, like this 777, A350 and 787. Next to my gate was a Coral Lounge, which I could enter using my Priority Pass membership. It was absolutely dead inside, with only 4 other people there. The food was roughly the same as in the Thai Lounge, but I much preferred the seating and aesthetic of the Coral Lounge. There was even a mini gym and some nap rooms available, and overall, I would probably suggest this over the Thai Lounge to be honest. But either lounge would be better than the meager gate area, which was as basic as it gets. Boarding started, and I made my way down to the bus. I don't really understand the point of priority boarding when there's a bus, because all you end up doing is waiting on the bus for everyone else to get on. Then when you arrive at the plane, it's a scramble to get off, and because you boarded the bus first, you actually end up being last off the bus. As a side note, I love bus rides to planes because it gives you an opportunity to get up and close and really get a feel for the size and scale of a wide-body aircraft. A short ride later, we arrived at our plane for today's flight, a Boeing 777-200ER. Although the plane is capable of long-haul travel, Thai uses these for short-haul routes and it's fitted with a much older and outdated business class product. There's a single forward cabin with 30 seats in a 222 layout. These are an older seat design, and although they do not go fully flat, they still have hard-shell backs, decently sized TV screen, and other handy features that make it a comfortable and practical option for short flights. My seat today was in the second last row, but numbered 15A. A pillow, blanket and headphones were already at the seat. Thankfully, the privacy divider at my seat had already been extended, so I didn't have to do that awkward bit while sitting next to my seatmate. There's plenty of legroom, and I appreciate the fact that the person in front won't intrude into my space. In front of me was a large IFE screen, a couple of storage slots and the headphones. On the left were the seat controls. In the middle was a shared table and the headphone jack. A bit further back was a universal power outlet, which I didn't expect on this old seat, but definitely a useful feature. The IFE remote was hidden under an armrest flap, and the ease of use surprised me. I half expected it to be clunky and laggy, but it was actually pretty quick and responsive. There was more than enough entertainment for the short flight, and the headphone sound quality was much better than I expected. One of the flight attendants greeted me by name, offered a pre-departure drink and a hot towel before we eventually pushed back. It's a sad but cool sight to see all these big Thai aircraft in storage. There are 747s, 777s and even A380s just parked up around the airport. As the seatbelt sign was turned off, I sat back and waited for the meal service to start. It seems I forgot what time of day it was and ended up having a can of Coke at 9 in the morning. I also made an oopsie when choosing my meal, which was a chicken and rice dish with egg. I'm sure it tasted like it was supposed to taste, but whatever that thing on the left is was not to my palate's liking. The chicken was also aromatic, to put it gently. However, as the basic person I am, I love the fried dough and the dipping sauce, which was basically condensed milk, and another one which was pandan flavour. Interestingly, Thai offered Australian jam and honey. The meal was finished off with another hot towel, which meant it was time to kick back and relax for a bit. Like I said earlier, this seat is an older design and doesn't convert into a flatbed. In fact, it doesn't convert into an angled flatbed either. It's more of a deep cradle position. The backrest reclines a long way, but the leg section drops off quite a bit. Given this plane doesn't really operate on routes longer than a few hours, it's still an acceptable standard for short-haul business class. It's definitely far more comfortable than something like a 737 or A320 would be, especially if those narrow-body planes only had the standard recliner seats for business class. I watched some TV, rested my eyes, and soon enough we were starting our approach into KL. So, what did I think of Thai's short-haul experience? Well, this was another one of those flights where I could have easily flown economy for 2 hours. But, to be honest, when I booked the flight, it was scheduled to be on a 787 Dreamliner, and I wanted to try that in business class as I'd previously flown the Thai 787 in economy. As it turned out, the aircraft was swapped and I ended up on this older 777. Apart from the ground experience was mostly positive. On board, the service was excellent, the attendant taking care of me was wonderful. The food wasn't as crash hot, but the donuts won me over. The seat is lacking compared to modern business class products, but it was still a comfortable way to fly for a couple of hours. Overall, a good flight.